Hi everyone, and welcome to Raising Vibrations with myself, Simon. Today, guys, I'm going to be sharing with you some insights relative to the Ascendant or to the rising sign. And one of my main intentions with this video is to really kind of smash the paradigm of how this has been seen in the past and what astrology has been using to define the Ascendant and the rising sign. And unfortunately, there's a lot of information or misinformation about how this works. And so what I want to do with this video, like I said, is my intention is to actually come across and give you information about how to understand it, how to truly look at the rising sign and what does it symbolize within your birth charts and within your core evolutionary journey to self-awareness. And I think it's really important to be able to understand that idea of self-awareness, because it's really, really linked with the nature of the Ascendant and what it actually symbolizes, okay? So self-awareness is really what you're trying to do. You're trying to become aware of who you are, connect to that sense of self that exists within. And that has unfortunately been suppressed and disconnected for a long, long period of time due to patriarchal law, etc., etc. Now, the first thing that we need to do from the point of view of astrology is understand that the first house, Mars, and Aries are all the same archetype within the actual zodiac wheel, okay? They are all the same archetype, okay? What does Mars, Aries, in the first house actually symbolize from the point of view of humanity itself or from the human condition? Well, it reflects new beginnings, okay? In something that is essentially being birthed for the first time in every single moment. And so the new beginnings, birthing of new moments, okay, is happening for us. And this is linked to the idea that we're in a constant state of becoming. This is something that is natural to us, even when we are essentially, breathing our last breaths, we are always in a constant state of becoming aware. And this is from the point of view of consciousness, from the point of view of spiritual awareness, from the point of view of our awareness ourselves. We're always in a constant state of becoming relative to the Mars, the Aries, and the first house symbolism. Now, the next thing that is linked to that is the act of instinctual behavior, something that is not actually happening with thought, that we are instinctually reacting to the experience. And from that understanding, we are then ultimately projecting into our reality an instinctual reaction, an instinctual behavior that then allows us from the environment to become aware of ourselves. So when we are acting instinctually, when we are naturally being ourselves, and we are reacting to situations without forethought, we are naturally being ourselves. And then the environment that we are in will reflect to us something of ourselves, okay? And it is that reflection from the environment that makes us self-aware, okay? So a simple example that this can be used with is the baby, for instance, okay? The baby doesn't know that the stove is hot, or the child doesn't know that the stove is hot. So what happens is that it is curiosity, instinctual reaction, touches the stove and then recognizes, hold on, this is hot. So my instinctual reaction to discover, okay, and this is something that I'm going to share with you guys right now, the layer, my instinctual reaction is to discover something that I am not aware of. And then as I touch the stove, I become aware of that experience relative to feedback from my environment. Okay, now I know, now I'm aware. And it becomes self-awareness. At the same time, I'm aware of this fact now. Now, when I said to you guys about the instinctual reaction and then the curiosity, well, Aries and Gemini in the zodiac make a sextile to each other. And Gemini is naturally curious because it wants to explore, so the Aries and Gemini connection is making that happen. I'm instinctually curious. I want to know. And why is this the case? The reason why this is the case is because essentially from new beginnings, there is a sense of I am only aware of myself. I'm not aware of the environment around me, yet I am propelled through that knowledge, through that awareness to discover. Okay? And so the idea or the archetype of discovery then gets linked with Mars, Aries, and the Ascendant. Instinctual reaction driven by self-discovery based on curiosity. Okay? And so the Ascendant, the sign that is now ruling your Ascendant, okay? So for instance, if you've got Aries if you've got Aquarius, or if you've got any sign, for instance, that's ruling that, will naturally become will naturally then manifest through how you instinctually react. and through that experience become aware of yourself. Now, I'm going to chat a little bit more on this piece that I'm talking about right now. This idea of the ascendant becoming self-awareness, just a little bit after this, okay? But what I want to do is back this up a little bit and then reference some of the things that is what Astro or old astrology has defined the ascendant to be, and this becomes your personality, your persona, the mask that you wear. And this could be so far from the truth. And the reason why this is the case is because in order for the mask to be worn, there would need to be an essential thought process or idea or constructed persona relative to this experience. But when we are understanding that the ascendant is linked with Mars, we're understanding that the Aries, and we're understanding that the ascendant is the first house and it becomes self-discovery, in other words, acting instinctually without any forethought, we become aware that it cannot be the case. And so therefore, when we're looking at the persona, if we're looking at the identity, it's actually the descendant, in other words, how others see you. And so the sign that is actually opposite the ascendant becomes the way that you actually project into your reality who you would like people to see you as. All right. Now, the next thing that I want to share with you guys, and this is now coming back to the original conversation about the nature of the ascendant, is that the sign that is ruling the ascendant becomes something that you are inherently within yourself learning more about, okay? Right? So discovery of that sign. So it becomes something intrinsic within yourself that you're learning more about, okay? Now, you ask the questions, the Pluto questions, right? The deep questions to understand the nature of the zodiac and consciousness itself, not just these descriptions about astrology and man-made, not man-made, but identities that we have assigned to, or the astrology signs to. When we take all of that left brain stuff away and we understand it just simply from an intuitive space, we recognize that the sign that is ruling the ascendant becomes something that is inherently what you have come here to become aware of, self-discovery. And that is linked with your spiritual destiny. In other words, that is linked with the nature of who you are. If you're always in a constant state of becoming, then the ascendant sign, the sign that's ruling the ascendant, becomes what you are here to explore about yourself. And you can link this with your karma, you can link with this, the nature of your soul's journey, etc., etc. And inwardly within yourself, when you become more aware of who you are, when you're reflecting on yourself, you use this tool to understand this process. And it's a great tool to understand when you're trying to understand your own chart. And I've used the word understand about 50 times in that thing over there, so I do apologize. But you understand what I mean, right? Anyway, so coming back to my original point again, is that now we ask the questions, why? Why this ascendant? Why Aquarius on the ascendant? Why Aquarius on the rising sign? Well, simply put, the reason why you would do this is because it's linked to the nature of the desires of the soul and how it is essentially actualizing itself in this lifetime. So, the first thing that we need to recognize, and I'm trying to put this across in a very clear way so that it doesn't become advanced astrology, because this is not advanced astrology at all, in my opinion. In fact, should be the basic stuff. Advanced astrology is looking at all the signs manifesting themselves together in that sense and looking at the chart in a holistic perspective, not just what this sign in this house means, but actually understanding the totality of it. That's advanced. But coming back to my original point again, and that was that the questions why. And this is linked with the desires that are emanating from the soul. So every single one of us in your birth chart will have a placement of Pluto. And Pluto will essentially resemble the core evolutionary journey, the core evolutionary intention of your soul. Now, from the point of view of Pluto itself, and you've mentioned and you've seen through all my other videos, this is a very unconscious experience because it's essentially emanating from so deep within us. Which is why whenever you have Pluto transits, whenever you have Saturn transits to Pluto, for instance, you're the only person that really understands what's going on within your own existence because it's so deep within yourself. It's changing the nature of you inwardly. All right. So from Pluto's point of view, it would need essentially something that would allow it to become aware of itself, but on a conscious level. And so here we come to the ascendant, to Aries, and Mars in the chart, because Mars is essentially without any forethought, with is just acting on instinct, okay? So this is again why in the general astrology, Mars will be related to anger. Well, the reason why this is the case actually is because of its connection to Capricorn, okay? And the fact that Capricorn needs to control everything relative to needing to protect. And so control becomes something that does not allow freedom. And when there is no freedom, there becomes suppressed emotion, and that's where anger actually manifests from Mars. But the real reason as to why Mars is the case is not because of its angry itself. This is the biggest disillusion with the illusion with that Mars is that it's inherently needing freedom, total freedom. Why would it need total freedom? Because the evolutionary intentions of the soul require total freedom in order for it to act instinctually so that it can become aware of itself without any coloring, without any conditioning, without any definition. So the natural square between Capricorn and Aries and in the chart actually symbolize the need to break free from conditioning, right? To explore who I am, to define myself in new ways. And so the Aries, the ascendant in the first house, will actually relate to freedom and necessary freedom. Okay? And the act of instinctual behavior through conscious awareness becomes the Aries first house, and this is how we are constantly in a state of becoming relative to the soul's desires. Does this make sense? So again, when we're looking at the chart, when you're looking at your own chart and you're trying to understand the nature of yourself in the sense, and you're looking at your soul's evolutionary journey, look at your ascendant, look at the Mars placement in your chart, and also look at Aries, and this will show you where your soul's desires are emanating from. What essentially have you come here to instinctually become aware of? All right, so this is where you're acting instinctually. I'm going to give some examples later on within this video. Okay, so does that clear? Now the next thing that I want to share is the nature of why there is essentially this connection between total freedom and the feeling of entrapment and becoming aware. Well, the 8th house, Pluto in Scorpio, symbolizes the soul, because essentially we're looking at the deepest, darkest aspect, the bottom line of everything. And so we're looking at desire. Desire essentially is the bottom line of this experience on earth. We chose here to come to where there's something here that you're desiring, and so therefore this is why you are born. Okay, emanating from consciousness. Now, the 8th house, Pluto, Scorpio, essentially makes an inconjunct 150-degree aspect from the 8th house all the way to the 1st house. Okay, and this inconjunct makes us aware of our unconscious desires and our conscious desires, and how we are actually becoming self-aware. This inconjunct. Okay. Now, from the point of view of how this actually looks like in real life, this is the experience of the baby being born. That we're essentially separating from the totality of creation itself, 12th house, into the 1st house, allowing us to be reborn. And from that experience, we're separating ourselves from source energy, 12th house, and that anxiety of separation, of becoming aware of ourselves, is linked with the connection between the 1st house and the 8th house. Okay, that connection. Now that's a little bit of advanced astrology over there, but the point I'm trying to make here is that there's a natural existence within our consciousness of separation from the 8th house. The soul is wanting to become aware of itself through desire, and how it does that is through actual instinctual reaction of freedom, 1st house ascendant, Mars. You get this point I'm trying to make? So, from that point of view, from that understanding, the sign that is now ruling your ascendant. So for instance, if you have Aries, if you have Aquarius on the ascendant, you would need to look at the planet that is now ruling that sign. So for instance, if your ascendant is Aquarius, you look to Uranus. If your ascendant is Pisces, you look to Neptune. If your ascendant is Aries, you look to Mars, and that's a double emphasis in fact over there. If your ascendant is Taurus, you look to Venus. Your ascendant is Gemini, you look to Mercury. If your ascendant is Cancer, you look to the moon. If your ascendant is Leo, you look to the sun. Okay, you get this point I'm trying to make over here, what the ascendant is. When you look at it from that point of view, when you look at the ascendant and the sign that is ruling it, and then you connect it to your planet, okay, in your chart, you will actually see this awareness of what has specifically been chosen for your soul's journey, what has specifically become what you are becoming aware of. So in my case, I have Aquarius rising. So I look to Uranus in my chart. Oh, it's in the 11th house. Okay. And then all of a sudden I see the connection to all the other planets in the charts. And then I see the totality of this experience. All right. I'm learning my Uranian lessons in this lifetime. So from the point of view of astrology and saying you got to look at your rising sign when you're looking at your horoscopes, yes. However, that's not actually going to give you something that's specific to your own lessons within your own consciousness, because you're not actually looking at the sign that is ruling your ascendant. So you're looking at the rising sign, okay, fantastic. Let's say it's Aquarius, right? Now, from the point of view, this is now the sun sign horoscope for Aquarius. Whereas what you've got to be looking at is the symbol of Uranus in your chart and what it actually means for you. So if Uranus is in the 11th house, we're looking at the fragmentation of one's identity and the reintegration and alignment of that. So the rising sign horoscope won't work for you, because you need to actually be looking at the symbol that is in your chart specifically for yourself. I hope that makes sense. So for instance, if you have like let's put Taurus on the ascendant, okay, you need to look at Venus in the chart to see what's specifically for you. But if it's in the 3rd house, you'll know that it's specifically affecting your nature of communication, how you're communicating. Are you communicating your needs in that sense? And that becomes how you actually then look into your chart to understand the nature of your soul's journey here, okay, in that sense. So I hope that's clear from that point of view. The next thing that I want to share with you over here is relative to the ascendant and smashing the paradigm, is this nature of the persona, okay? This mask that you wear. No, it couldn't be the case. In fact, what happens here is that the sign that is ruling your ascendant, okay, becomes where you are becoming self-aware. So you project into reality. This is what you're becoming aware of. But what actually happens is that everything works in polarity. You're projecting a persona into the reality, the opposite sign. So if it's for instance Aquarius, then the sign that's ruling the 7th house will be Leo. So what will happen here is that as you instinctually react in every single new moment, you yourself, okay, are not aware of your Aquarius energy. You're becoming aware of it. So it's not like you're aware of your Aquarius ascendant. You're not. You're becoming aware of it. You're becoming aware specifically of what that means to you in your life relative to the sign, the symbol that it's ruling. So if it's Aquarius, if it's Uranus in your chart, and it's in the 11th house, it's that 11th house Uranus thing that you're looking at. If you have the Pisces rising, then you're looking at the placement of Neptune in your chart to become aware of and integrate love and acceptance into your life, right? But that persona that you create on the outside, the 7th house, in my case, it would be Leo. So what happens is that when I'm walking into a new environment, because this is one of the wonderful things about when they describe how you act in a new experience, a new environment, you will act out your ascendant, right? In that sense. Well, it couldn't be the case, because what's happening is that you're projecting into the reality the Leo archetype. So you will be naturally coming across and attracting people to you and speaking in a very like loud and bold way. The real reason why you're doing it is because you're creating that sense of attraction to you, so that the Aquarius energy doesn't become valid or doesn't become up in your consciousness, which is the idea of which group do I integrate into, how, or the fear of rejection of my identity, Aquarius ascendant, the fear of my rejection of my identity, and which group can I belong to. So how do I do that? I create the persona outside of me, Leo. So it's actually the opposite sign of your ascendant is the one that is actually the mask, okay, like I said before. And that's how I'll be doing it. I'll be walking into new environments and talking, so that I can essentially attract people to me that will be relative to me and which group I should belong to. Scorpio ascendant, for instance, okay? If you have a Scorpio ascendant, you're very intense. You're somebody that will be naturally you'll be naturally becoming aware of the reasons as to why you are feeling insecure in some way about the nature of fear, what people's motives are, because of lifetimes of feeling abandoned, betrayed, loss of trust, violations of trust and such. So when you walk into a new environment, what you're actually creating to cover up that sense of fear is a sense of Taurus, stable, secure. I've got this covered, right? You show those people so that you cannot reveal your sense of identity relative to this experience. You understand their motives. Watch this. You will ask questions naturally to understand where this person's coming from. Okay? If you have, for instance, a Pisces rising, you will naturally create into your environment a persona of I've got everything organized, I've got everything detailed, because inherently within yourself, you know that this Pisces energy is more about flowing. So the persona you create is, in order for you to not feel that rejection or that fear, etc., will be to create an ultimate, I've got everything organized and detailed. right? Virgo archetype, self-sufficiency in that sense. You got the Leo rising. What will naturally happen is inwardly within yourself, you want to be creating, you want to be talking, you want to be expressing yourself. But the projected persona around you is a cool, detached experience. So when understanding your rising sign, when understanding your ascendant, okay, it's so important to recognize that it's not the persona that you have, it's actually the opposite side. That is what you're creating relative to understanding who you are. You're creating the polarity, okay? Smashing the paradigm of this thing. I really hope this makes sense. So what I want to do is just quickly round up over here so that you can see it in your own chart, for instance. The first thing you need to recognize, again, we're always in a constant state of becoming. So therefore, from that experience, our instinctual reaction to our environment is how we're becoming aware of that. And how we behave through that without any forethought. We just act that way. And then the feedback from our environment makes us more aware, okay? From that experience, we then look at the ascendant, Mars, and the first house, or the first house, the same thing as the ascendant, the first house, Mars, the placement of Mars on your chart, and of course, where Aries is in your chart. And from that experience, you will understand the conscious core evolutionary intentions. What were the separating desires in your chart? Okay, so if Aries is ruling your third house, and Mars is in the fifth house, and you've got the Leo rising, then what you have here is somebody that needs to become aware of the reason as to why they're not expressing themselves, to speak up, to be bold, to be brave, or to understand that they speak too boldly and that they need to understand balance. Balance is the Libra archetype, the opposite. You get this point I'm trying to make. So when you're looking at your birth chart, look at the ascendant, look at Mars, and look at Aries where they're on your chart. Put those archetypes together, what those symbols mean, and that's how you become aware of these desires. The second thing is, obviously from this point of view, is then looking at the symbol that rules your ascendant. So if your ascendant is Aries, not Aries, if your ascendant is Aquarius, then you look to Uranus in your chart. You look to Uranus in your chart, wherever that is. You understand the core evolution, you understand the symbol in that chart, and that's how you become more aware of the nature of these desires. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, guys. I really hope that this video kind of like gave you a new perspective on understanding the ascendant and debunked the idea of it. I really hope that I got the message across about how the ascendant reflects to us what we are understanding about ourselves, and that's the core intention is linked with self-discovery, and it's not an actual persona that you create, and that's the descendant. Okay? So yeah. Okay, guys, like I said, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I really hope that this teaching actually gave you that sense of understanding and was starting to create some curiosity within yourself. What I wanted to share with you is that Raising Vibrations at the moment is creating a online astrology beginners course. Okay, check out my Facebook page. There it is on the bottom over there. If you're interested in wanting to join these classes, there's quite a few people that have wanted to become, to join these beginners classes. It's very, very simple that I'm going to be doing and teaching you about all the archetypes themselves and the Pluto story and also the nodes. So if you're interested in that, please check out the Facebook page, and I'll put the link in the description below. Okay, guys? If you're interested in soul readings and wanting to understand how I've actually explained this within your own chart and guidance and such, check out simonvorster.com. I've got all my services over there, guys. I highly recommend all of them. And I think the new moon, or the full moon, is coming out really, really shortly. In fact, I wanted to let you guys know that this full moon is something that I'm really excited about, to be honest, simply because of the fact that the cardinal cross has got loads of attention. Yeah, fantastic. But this aspect, this planetary alignment that's taking place right now, man, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually able to see these planetary alignments taking place at this point in time. There's so much awesome change. There's so much frequency shifting happening at this point in time. And we're definitely going through a gateway shift at this stage. I'm really excited to actually manifest the article as well as the video and convey this message to you. But I really do. I've got loads of excitement within myself, and I just want to babble it to you guys. So I really hope that that becomes exciting for you in that sense, and I'm really excited to do that at the same time. So yeah. Okay, guys, fantastic. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I know I've said that a million times. I do apologize. Always in healing, always what I wanted to say is I'm always grateful for the opportunity to share this. I'm always grateful for the opportunity to be a soul service and healing humanity in that sense, and bringing organic astrology to the world in that way. So yeah, okay guys, fantastic. Please like and share, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And until then guys, have a fantastic day. Take care.